Yeah. So, all right, let's see. So now we're on to Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This is my favorite of the prequels.
Absolutely.
I feel like the the moment when Anakin and Obi-Wan are in their, their fighters on top of Coruscant, or that was Coruscant, right?
Yeah, that was they were right over Coruscant because Palpatine somehow gets captured. I'd love for them to explain that one to me.
Yeah, right. There's a funny if you see the Lego Star Wars shorts, there's a funny thing when Chancellor Palpatine is in his office in Coruscant, and he calls Grievous, and he's like, "All right, Grievous, I need you to capture me," and he's like, What, master? What do you want me to do? He's like, capture me! So he's kind of funny that they're kind of bumbling around like idiots. Just making fun of it, but the moment you see Anakin and Obi-Wan, I don't know what it is. Maybe Hayden Christensen got like an acting coach or something, but he instantly feels like a better actor in this movie.
Mm-hmm. No,
I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is, but he got a million times better. I mean, granted, some of the writing is still cringy. I mean, any of the scenes with him and Padme, until you get to, I think, the part where he
right
is pretty much kind of cringy. I don't think it's him. I think it's the writing at that point.
Exactly, yeah, because when Anakin and Obi-Wan are like, there's buzz droids, and he's like, "Oh, get him off my tail, Anakin." You just feel such connection because it's just he's better at acting. I don't know what it is, The scene when Anakin and Padme's like brushing her hair in a balcony, and she's like, "Oh, we're gonna bring my baby to Naboo." I hate that scene. I think that's really, really bad writing.
Yeah.
She's like, "So love has blinded you?" And he's like, "No, I just love looking at you." And she's like, "No, I love looking at you." I'm like, what is this?
I've never heard any couple in all of my years ever talk like that. And anytime anyone brings it up, they say, "Nope, that's not how a couple talks."
Yeah, whenever, like, my future wife, girl, whatever, I am not talking to her like that. I'm not going to be like, "Let me look at your face for an hour and a half." It's still going to be like, what? You know what I mean? It's just borderline creepy.
Yeah, it is borderline, I should probably leave.
Right, yeah, Padme's like, "Alright, I'm going to ditch out on this guy, he's weird." But other than that one scene, the CGI is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
The fight scenes are phenomenal. It starts out with a bang. I mean, it's not, Episode 1 and 2 have exposition, but now, after all that and the Clone Wars, this movie starts out like a friggin' rocket, you know?
This starts off right into a battle.
Mm-hmm.
Which, seeing pretty much, everything in there. And then we get to the lightsaber duel with Obi-Wan, Anakin, Dooku.
That was awesome. And again, going back to Hayden Christensen's acting getting better, the part where he's pretty much holding both lightsabers, one in each hand, and you can actually kind of hear it in his voice of, I really shouldn't cut off his head. Mm-hmm. And then he goes, "Do it!"
Mm-hmm.
That's the great thing. But yeah, that was the final straw, I think, when he beheaded Dooku. He was like, he even says, "I want power, and I shouldn't want power. Why am I feeling like this,
Well, it's only natural.
Yeah. And then we get to one of my favorite scenes in the whole prequel trilogy is when Anakin goes to that weird, like, bubble play, and you have it's great writing, and it's great acting, and you have Anakin and Chancellor Palpatine talking to each other about Darth Plagueis, and it's so well done. You feel ominous in the air. You feel tension between these two characters.
I was going to say, everything about that scene just... The acting, the music, the ambiance. You just get the sense of, okay, we all know what's coming.
Now I'm going to ask you this. How do you feel about the fight between Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, those other guys, and Palpatine? Because when I saw it when I was like a teenager and a kid, an older kid, I was kind of like, the fight when you can tell that they just digitally put a face on Palpatine, because he's not, he even said in interviews, "I'm not comfortable fighting." So he looks a little weird, but the fight when he's just kind of standing like this, and Mace Windu's, hack and slash, and he's like that, and he's going like, making this weird, like, jabbing motion. It was really cringy when I first saw it. Now that I've seen it again, it makes sense, but what do you think about that?
I was going to say, my first time seeing it, I kept questioning, okay, you have 4 Jedis, 2 of which are Masters, and 3 out of 4 of them get wiped out in the first maybe 30 seconds of the fight.
Yeah, that never made sense, you know. And I know Palpatine is probably the most powerful guy ever, but in the same lieu of that, I think that it's very strange that he dispatched him so fast, and then, you know, it's a fun fight scene, but it's just the facial things that he's, you know, like this, like, it's just like he's, but now that I realize Palpatine's been hiding his evil identity for 2 movies and a whole show. Mm-hmm. He's giddy, you know, he's happy that he's able to go crazy.
I was going to say, talking about visuals, what did you think when they kind of stop for a second, you see the lightsabers stuck together, and you see Palpatine kind of holding the lightsaber, then you just see the look on Samuel L. Jackson's face, just rage, pissed off. He looks like, if you put his eyes and CGI them to Sith eyes, I wouldn't have even questioned it for a second. Mm-hmm. He looks pissed.
Yeah, he means business. And then, of course, he dies. Remember that whole theory when everyone's like, oh, I think Samuel L. Jackson posted on Twitter, and he was like, oh, well, Jedi can fall really high. And everyone's like, oh, my God, he's Snoke, and all that. It's like, no, he's dead.
No, he's dead. He's definitely dead by the time you reach, you know, episode 7. Whether or not he survived the fall still has yet to be seen, because they don't say whether or not it's true. They don't say whether or not it's not true. Because if it's true, then that whole, you know, Star Wars theory video that I watched a while back is going to be interesting.
Yeah. But all in all, that fight scene was cool. But I love how, especially when the, let's see here, okay, let's go to the Grievous and Obi-Wan fight. What do you think of that?
Grievous Obi-Wan fight? I kind of like it, but I also felt like I could have seen a little bit more. Just a hair.
I think the beginning is really strong. The beginning is really strong when he's, you know, twirling the thing and he goes like this and he's like, "Yo, move!" You know, I mean, I love that. You know, it's just so cool stuff. And I think it does end a little once they get on the Varactyl and the you know, weird
whatever that
hamster ball thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it speeds up, and it's kind of funny because now that Grievous was in a huge chunk of the Clone Wars and he just gets shot in the heart and then the face, it's just like it felt a little anticlimactic.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got the sense of him, you know, lasting a little bit longer, there being some more of a fight. Because Grievous is, you know, he's a Jedi killer. He's not just this weak, powerless general, which he kind of looks like in the, not in the TV series, but the movie. He looks a little, you know, weak.
Mm-hmm. But it's cool that General Grievous is actually a dude that was made to look like a, you know, he's not actually a droid. A lot of people think, oh, he's just a droid. No. But no, he was a human before.
No, I have to read into the comics. I remember reading something about that. He was something before that.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's canon, if they ever took his body and used it for anything. I don't necessarily know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but we do know that he was a human at some point. But now we'll get to the end of episode 3 with Emperor Palpatine and Yoda in the Senate room. I love that scene.
That scene pretty much showed the equivalent of, okay, we're talking about 2 masters where their abilities go beyond a lightsaber. The lightsaber, in fact, I think, holds them back. Hence the reason, if you remember, Snoke kind of saying, oh, this primitive weapon, this weak thing, I don't need it. Is pretty much the same thing with Palpatine. Well, spoiler alert, then Palpatine anyway.
Yeah, right. The scene where they're in the Senate room, right, and he's using the Force and he's tossing all the Senate chairs, whatever, at Yoda. I never understood that, the meaning of that, why he was laughing. But now I know. When we're watching it, I just grew a brain, and I'm like, oh, I know. But it was the reason why, in my opinion, why Palpatine is throwing them and he's laughing like crazy is because that's him metaphorically going, I've been holding my power for all this time. I've been Chancellor. I've been doing all this stuff. And now when he's throwing the Senate things at Yoda, that's him throwing away his Senate power, you know? He's like, you know, F this. I'm evil now, you know?
I was going to say, I also couldn't stop laughing. And even watching it today, I love watching Yoda catch one, spin it, and just send it flying right back at him. Then you have
Palpatine's face is like, shit. He
jumps down and sees Yoda right there. It's like, oh, shit.
Yeah, that was cool. Now, let's get to the finale of Episode 3 and the end of the prequel trilogy before we move on to the games for a minute. Anakin and Obi-Wan. My biggest issue with that fight scene is that it feels too choreographed. And I watched all the special features, and they, and Hayden and Ewan, they're like, oh, we've been practicing for months, and it's an intense fight, and it looks good, looks really good, but it just it goes on for a little bit too long, and by the time they start swinging on those rope things, it just feels too much of a set piece, It's like they took Uncharted and took it in Star Wars, It's just too choreographed. It doesn't feel as raw as, the sequel trilogies,
I was going to say, there were some moments where it kind of felt raw, like when they first start off. But once you get into that control room scene, it feels way too choreographed. Them just spinning the lightsabers and not even touching each other for a good, maybe 5 seconds. I felt like it was a waste of time and they could have done anything else.
But then they both do the Force at the same time.
That was perfect.
Yeah, that was cool. But, yeah, like I said, there's certain moments where you're like, oh, that's really too over choreographed. But overall, that scene is really cool. It's the culmination of the prequel trilogy and the Clone Wars content. It's the rise of Darth Vader, and I think overall it's a good scene. It's a really cool fight scene.
Then, of course, you have Anakin getting chopped in half.
Yes, yeah.
Which... Yikes.
Yeah, he got effed up. And I freaking love the scene when they're putting the thing on him, and, he's, moaning because he's in pain, and then you have Padme, who, dies from childbirth, sadly.
There's still hope.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But there's certain ways to handle death scenes. Do you know The Dark Knight Rises? Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so Talia al Ghul, when she dies in the truck in the end of the movie, she goes like this, she's like...
Yeah.
I'm like, boo! It's like, that was great. Padme slowly going like this, it wasn't too bad,
No, it felt somewhat natural.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was no, like Tony Stark at the end of Endgame,
Right.
But it was not bad.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, my favorite, one of my favorite parts ever, and of course this is classic George Lucas, the best part is when he puts the helmet on and you can see in Anakin's eyes that he doesn't want that helmet on. The last second he's like, oh man, what have I done? I don't want to do this.
I was going to say, if you even watch that scene again, I think they actually kept his eyes his normal color at that last second. I almost look at that scene when I'm seeing, Padme dying and Anakin getting the helmet put on, that almost is a resemblance of the last bit of, humanity it has left has just left him and he's being trapped by the suit or the dark side.
Yeah. No, it's great stuff. And then, of course, they have to fuck it up by hearing, Darth Vader go, no! Like,
oh, my God. Do you know that they added that in the original trilogy for the special edition?
They did?
They added that in when he's throwing the Emperor.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about, yeah. Yeah, that was terrible.
No, that doesn't need to be there.
No. I think that him... if I was George Lucas, I wouldn't have had him go, no, because that's cheesy. I would have had him maybe, force choke, maybe go like this with his hands, and, you see Palpatine starting to, get choked a little bit, very, very faintly.
I would have gone off of, I'm trying to remember if I saw this somewhere, where Palpatine actually ends up getting choked for a brief second by Vader in the comic books, if I'm thinking correctly.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. It would have been way better than him screaming no for an hour,
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt.
Yeah, because like I said, you have a great scene, and then you got to ruin it with a no. But
no.
Overall, the episode 3 is my favorite. I think it has the best lines, the best acting, the best action scenes, best CGI.
I was going to say, nice ending, having it, end with the dual sunset. I don't know what it is. The original, every single trilogy has to end with that sunset.
Yeah, right.
Or sunrise.
Yeah.